Welcome to How Preschool Teachers Do It.
This is Alison Kentos. I am an early childhood educator.
And this is Cindy Tarabush. I am an early childhood consultant.
This podcast is for parents and early childhood professionals.
Let our experience and research-based knowledge become your guide. Welcome, preschool peeps. We're back on the other side of the new year.
Yes, first episode of the new year.
Yes.
Yay.
So, welcome. We won't make a big deal. We want to just slide forward into this year and hope for the best.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like just any other day.
Exactly. So we're going to get
into it didn't happen.
We're going to just get into the topic. I don't like that topic.
Yeah.
The thing that inspired this topic, Alison and I were talking this. Oh, it's a good thing we talk to each other between episodes, or we would have nothing to talk about.
We'd
on
have
this
nothing.
Podcast.
Yeah.
I was saying something about Zoom breakout rooms. If you've never experienced a Zoom breakout room, the software.
You're so lucky. Yeah.
The software creates small groups and sends you, I don't even know how to describe it, sends you digitally to your own small group. And then you go there and you do some small group work. And then you come back to the main Zoom where everybody shares what they worked on. And as a trainer, somebody who provides professional development, it actually is required of us to show that we're having people do small group activities, which used to be in person. And folks, that was painful enough. The whole everybody, let's count and see which group we're going to end up in. And you hope
in person too.
Right?
Yep.
You hope you end up in the group with the person you came with, but no, they're always separate. We're always separating you so that you get to talk to other people, which for introverted people like me, it's a little bit painful. All those groups.
The anxiety alone, like I can't with the anxiety.
Okay. As somebody who does adult learning and understands adult learning, there is impact to doing activities in small group and getting to know people. And again, it's required. When you design professional development, it's required. So then all our work transferred to Zoom. All our work transferred to Zoom, and we start to use the Zoom breakout rooms. And I promise everybody, I'm getting to something about young children. So we started to use the Zoom breakout rooms, right? And again, we're required, and it's best practice, and it's done widely done that people are put in Zoom breakout rooms during things like professional developments, trainings, education sessions. And on the other end, when I'm a participant in someone else's session, when they say we're going to breakout rooms, I want to hit leave meeting. I want to be like, no, I don't.
I'd be like, I'm just going to mute myself. I need to use the bathroom. I'll be back in 20 minutes when this is over.
Internet knocked me off. Internet knocked me off. I don't know what happened.
Internet's out. Oh, I'm having internet issue. I don't know.
So painful.
I'm telling you. But you know what? The most anxiety, where the most anxiety happens for me is when they're like, okay, we're going to break you out. And it sends you, and it says like, you'll be in the room in like a few seconds. And you're sitting there like, oh God, please let there be somebody in there that I know.
Right.
Please let the people be okay. Like, what if it's not? And then all of a sudden they're all there and you're like, okay, this is either really bad or, hey, okay, I know that person. Okay, cool. We're cool. Like, but
I have
like
the same thing.
5 seconds. You're like, oh my God, do I just leave now? Nobody noticed.
Does everybody see where we're going yet? Maybe not. So when I do these breakout sessions, I have learned to keep them very brief and give them a particular task to do together that they can maybe not even accomplish in that short period of time, but it doesn't matter. I do not want the awkward silences, the people feeling uncomfortable. They have to get into the room. Zoom now has where you can share your screen into the breakout rooms. I share the question on their screen or whatever the task is, and then we come back together really quickly. I'm sorry it's required of us. I really am in some ways, but it is. And I know that some people like it. Some people are listening now going, oh, I like it. Well, okay, but that's not everybody. Okay, now let's talk about the children finally, right? Because it was in a position where I'm doing something as a trainer that I am forced to do.
I know.
And I myself don't like it. We do this with kids all the time. I myself don't like it, but we're going to force kids to do it. And I think that even doing small group activities is one of them. We're going to put you in a project or in a group together, and we're going to separate you from your buddy. And
group work is so, there's so much anxiety in group work for people like me that are introverted, I guess. Maybe extroverted people love it. I don't know.
Somebody isn't holding up their end of it. Come on.
Thank you. Like, I just want credit for my work. I don't want the credit to go to everyone. I don't want to share the credit when I did all the work. Okay. Like, there's just too much.
That's very A student of you, Alison.
Thank you.
It's very great elitist, but it's true.
But it's true.
I'm, we don't like when people pull us away from the person we arrived with. Why do we do that with children?
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen it done so many times where we're like, nope, we're going to separate them. Not because they argue. If children are consistently arguing, put them in separate groups. That's better for everybody. Yeah. But sometimes they're like, nope, we're going to separate that kid from their best friend. But you don't like that, folks. You don't like when that happens.
You don't like that. Yeah.
Because
that happens a lot. I feel like it happens within the class, but then also like when you're planning classes for next year, you're like, we'll just split them. And it's like, that might be the only thing that gets that kid to school, is like knowing like, oh, my class has my best friend in it. And that's a comfort to me. And then like people will purposely be like, oh, they're too close, we need to separate them. Like, why are we doing that? Like, because you have no idea what goes on. Like that kid might need that. I just don't get that.
And then there are so many things that adults have anxiety about that we're like, tough luck, kid. You brought up one earlier when we were talking about the topic, Alison. Do you remember?
Reading out loud to the class, how they would be like, we're going to take turns. Everybody's going to read a paragraph. And here you are being like, okay, wait, I'm 4 back. That means this is my paragraph down here. Let me practice it so that I don't goof up while I'm reading it out loud. But then did I pay attention to the first 3 paragraphs that people were reading? No, because my anxiety is like, oh my God, what if I say the wrong word? What if I don't read this well? What if I'm too slow of a reader? What if I'm not a good reader? What if I stumble over my words? What if I stutter? If I do, it could be anything. And that's what I'm thinking about instead of actually listening to the person read. I'm so worried about like, let me count off. Okay, cool. This should be my sentence to say out loud. Like, why are we doing that? Like,
well, here's what it looks like in a preschool. Let me tell you what it looks like in a preschool.
Yeah.
Here's what it looks like in a preschool. The teacher is doing something that should be done, which is called shared writing, where you sit in large group time and you have a chart paper and you ask the children a question and you write down exactly what they say to you. You take dictation and put their answers on the chart paper.
Yeah.
And very often adults are insistent that everybody participate in this chart paper.
Yes. And everybody have a different answer. You can't copy your friend's answers. Ugh. That's another thing I've seen. And it's like, but what if my answer originally was that? And just because somebody took the answer, now I'm scrambling to find another
I don't
answer.
see that as often in like the preschool ages. I've seen answers that are the same. I've seen answers that are essentially the same, however the child worded it. Well, but you make sure every kid has to be on there. Every kid has to be on there. Well, the child who says to you, I don't wanna. Well, you know what? I didn't really like when I had to count off how many sentences until I read either. And
I don't feel like you should force participation.
Forced participation is a problem. It's just a problem overall, right? I know that you want everyone to have a chance. You want everyone to have the learning, but there are many ways to teach a lesson or a skill to children. It doesn't have to be that. You can sit with your chart paper during large group time and just take dictation from the first few kids who give you an answer. And then say to everybody else, if you want to tell me your answer, you can tell me later in the day, or I'll write it down. And that also makes it so that your large group time isn't so long that the kids are getting bored waiting for each other, or the kid who couldn't think of an answer or whatever it is.
Well, I think that also ties into my next thing that people hate doing, but we make kids do, which is public speaking. Because I think some of those kids are not saying their answers in front of the large group, because that would be like a little kid version of public speaking maybe. And saying as a teacher, we're like, hey, if you want to tell me your answer later, like just to me,
right,
that they're still answering. You still know that they know the topic, but they don't have to say it in front of everybody, because I think that's something that's forced on kids too, is this public speaking.
I think you can ask children to try, but if they withdraw, they withdraw.
Right. Well, because I feel like there's like this fine line, a little bit of like, you want them to try it, right? You want them to try public speaking or whatever it might be, because they might not know if they like it or not. And you don't want them to go through life having this anxiety about public speaking. But then if they try it and they say, listen, this isn't for me, or whatever it might be, then let them be them. You know what I mean? Like, let them.
What was the movie? It reminds me of when adults are like, come, you have to do the public speaking, and the kid is scared, and we're like, snap out of it. No, that's part of who they are.
That's who they are. And they're going to grow into adults and be totally fine if they don't like public speaking. They just will not have a job that requires public speaking. You know what I mean? Like, it's not everybody needs to have skills like that. Like, that's what makes the world go round, is that we're all different. We all have different things that we're good at and things that we like, and things like.
I think that's where we depart from it. I think that's where we depart from adulthood, though, because like in a professional development session or a training, participation in the conversation, if you want to say something, is really more voluntary. Like, I don't go around the room and go, you adult over there, you haven't said anything yet, so I want you to answer this question. That doesn't happen at adult
that
education.
doesn't happen. And if it did, I would walk out. I'm just telling you, I'd be like, yeah, we're done here. You know, like, whoa, why are you targeting me?
You know, I might say something like, anybody else who hasn't had a chance to speak yet? Would anyone who hasn't had a chance to speak like to contribute? But if they don't, that's a voluntary thing as an adult. For children, we're like, you little Susie, you
have not said anything all day. Therefore, you now have to answer this question that you might not know the answer to. Like, and then it's like, you're putting these kids on the spot all the time. Like, why are we doing that?
I don't know why we do some of these things. If you don't like it, think about the fact that children are human beings too. Oh, here's another one. There are certain foods I do not like.
Oh, thank you. Yes, the food thing. Yes, there's certain foods I don't like. I choose not to eat them. When I'm out at dinner, I will just not take that to put it on my plate. And yet,
we're like,
have this. You're like, you can't get up unless you finish your plate. You know, like, what?
We stand there like, you have to try the new food.
Yeah.
It's good to encourage children to try new foods, but always please keep in mind, encouraging them is one thing, forcing them we should never do. And we don't like it when people do that to us. Imagine you go to some sort of dinner party and there's a new food and you look at it and you think, oh, I don't think I'll like that. But then the host comes over and says to you, eat it.
Could you imagine? Will you ever go to that dinner party again? No.
Well, I'm never talking to those people.
Never again. Talking. You're no longer my friend. Thank you.
We're done here.
We're done.
You're going to eat it. It's a new food. Can you imagine if adults looked at you and said, listen, Alison, it's a new food. You should try new things. You never know if you're going to like it. You'd be standing there like, what on earth?
And there's so many things that people tell me, you should try it. It's healthy. And I still don't eat it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm an adult. I don't have to. Kale comes to mind.
Yes. What's up with that?
Everybody who says, Alison, it's so healthy, you should try it. It's good for you. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm going to pass on that. Thanks. And then I go grab a donut.
went on a trip to LA. It was before the pandemic, technically a business trip to a conference. And my son tagged along and we were laughing because everywhere you go in LA, there is avocado and feta cheese. Like,
is that
everywhere.
A thing?
And I know that we have listeners in LA because we watch our statistics. So hi, Los Angeles.
Hi.
I just want you to know that you have more avocados than anywhere else in the country I have ever traveled.
That is not a Jersey thing for sure. I mean, I've seen people who like avocados, but I don't think it's everywhere, is it? You know, I mean, the occasional avocado toast, but no, there it is. Guacamole, like you get these things with everything. And it's so funny.
My son and I were laughing. Though. People who live there might not even realize. Think about it.
Yeah, they don't realize it.
We would laugh so much. We were like, oh, and then the standard avocado has to go. And for me, I don't particularly care for it. I just can't imagine people standing in a restaurant saying to me, the waiter saying or the waitress saying, wait staff is probably the right word. words.
Yeah.
You're not familiar with how we use this food. Please eat it, because you never
Yeah.
know if you're going to like it. So food is
Right.
another one.
It's like, food is it. You're right. Food is absolutely another one. Yeah.
Some people are just pickier eaters than other for whatever reason. Let them be.
Yeah. Let them be. I'm pretty picky. I admit I've been picky since I was a kid. I'm still picky. I get by. I'm not like underweight. I'm fine. If I'm fine, let me be.
I'm
Thank
good
you.
to go. I
Yeah.
potentially get away with not eating for a whole day. Who knows? I'm good to go.
I'm good. I'm good. And if I want my stuff plain, leave me be. I'm eating. Like, why do you care?
Oh, wait, I have one more. I feel like this episode could go on and on. I have one more.
Could. Yeah.
There are certain things I enjoy doing. If you've listened for a while, you know that I enjoy doing jigsaw puzzles. I want to do the jigsaw puzzle when I want to do the jigsaw puzzle. I also can't imagine somebody walking in here and looking at me and going, "You like jigsaw puzzles? Sit and do one now." I'd be like, "What?"
Excuse me? Yeah, no.
We do this with kids all the time. Like, I saw you like a book the other day. So while we're all getting our coats on, everybody go look at a book. That doesn't promote love of literacy, folks.
Right.
When we force children to look at books as a transitional tool, no, during your transition, sing something or something.
Yeah. Or give them choices.
Choices.
You know what I mean?
Right?
Why does it have to? It's almost always books. I'm telling you, like, go read a book because it's the easiest thing to clean up. Maybe, I don't know, but it's almost always books. But it's like, why not give them a choice? Be like, okay, we're going to be here for a little while, or whatever it might be. Here are your choices of things to do. Don't force the books on them. Don't force the puzzles on them. Because I've worked at schools where, like, when they came in the morning, they were.
I was just going to say that.
Whatever's at the table, right?
Yes,
Like,
I was just going to say that.
And you're like, but I don't want to play manipulatives right now. It's like you're forced into this. It's like, give them choices.
I was just going to say, in so many settings, the kids arrive and the teachers are like, "The Play-Doh's out. Go play with Play-Doh."
Yes.
Imagine,
that's
folks,
what they have to do. Yeah.
Imagine you walk into, I'm going to use just a dinner party setting or something again. You walk into a party and the people say, "We've put out the game of life." Because some people like the spinners. We've seen you spin the spinner before in the game of life. So we
imagine if this really
the board
happened?
game, and they go, "We put out the game of life on the tables. So please go play the game of life."
And this would be my face. I would be like, "Wait, what? I can't like
imagine.
Go, like, I have to play this game." Like,
no, you walk in, Allison, and they say, we've put backgammon on every table, and people don't even know what that is.
Remember how to play backgammon?
It was a trend many years ago.
I know, and I knew how to play it then, but I don't remember how to play it now.
We think you want to play backgammon, so we've put backgammon out, and that's all we're going to do for 20 minutes.
What gave you that idea that I wanted to play backgammon? Does this look like a person who plays backgammon? I'd be like, these are not my people. I better slowly back up and walk out of here like I was never here.
I'm slowly crawling out.
Back up.
I am hoping we're making people aware that we ask kids to do things all the time that we would not tolerate as adults, or we would press the red leave button on Zoom and be like, "My internet went out. I don't know what to tell you."
Yeah, or like at a dinner party and like pretend to get a cell phone call, like, "Oh man, I have a family emergency. I gotta go.
I can't. I'm sorry. I forgot about an appoment. Back away slowly. Maybe they didn't notice you came in the room.
Back up. Yeah, like, can we just not do that? That's my new thing. Can we just not?
and I think that many of the things that we talked about have to do with us picking something and forcing children.
Mm-hmm.
So think about that. The next time you find yourself over encouraging something or not giving children choices where they really could have choices, I want you to think about the dinner party. And if this happened to you, or the Zoom, if this happened to you, would you be clicking the red leave button and crawling out of there? Because I think we should have a red leave button. You know, I keep using the phrase dinner party, I think because I was binging the Mary Tyler Moore Show on Hulu. She has dinner parties all the time. It was a great show from the 1970s. I highly recommend. So
I don't know, do people do dinner parties anymore?
Yes, I just think they don't call it that. So
they
imagine yourself being
I don't know what it's called anymore.
Imagine yourself being invited to a party and someone says something similar to you, and there's a red leave button right near you and you can crawl back out, I think you would hit it and go.
Oh, I would hit that thing. Yep.
Okay.
Because I also think it's teaching kids like to do things they don't want, they have to do it. Like there's never an option. And that leads to issues when you're an adult that you're like, oh, I'm forced to do this.
We've already talked about that on the podcast.
Talked about that.
We
So
talked
see how
about
it's all like big full circle.
the nonsense you learn as a child. I think this
Yeah,
is
go
kind of
back to
wrapped
that.
up in
That's one of those things. Like the nonsense you learn is like, I'm forced to play this game and I don't want to. Yeah.
So when they look at you and they say, I don't want to, I don't like that.
Just be like, okay.
Okay.
What
Unless
would you
someone's
like
going to
to
get
do?
hurt. You know,
Yes.
if there's a fire drill and the child looks at you and says, I don't want to go, there's no choice then, but there should be
Sorry,
plenty
no
of choice
choice.
other
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
Safety first. We teach the children
Yeah.
safety first, right? And then
Yeah.
everything else is like, would I like that if I was invited to the Mary Tyler Moore show and had to go to a dinner party and that's what Mary put out in her house? Would I like that? Or would I click the red leave?
Not if Mary Tyler Moore was there.
If folks, if you can think of more things that we do that are similar to what we've been discussing on this podcast, please send them to us. You never know if we'll share them during a random.
Yeah,
we do
we
feedback
love
5
that.
randomly. You know, we do it kind of randomly. But
Yeah.
if you never know if we're gonna share it on a random feedback 5. So if you're cool with us sharing it, please say what we can say it on the podcast and provide us with how we can say your name, where you're located, whatever
Where
you would
you're
like
from.
us to say.
Yeah.
And we would be happy to give you a shout out.
Yeah, I love giving people shout outs. It's one of my favorite parts.
I know. So
Yeah.
folks, keep listening to us in 2022. We have some irons in the fire. We have some cool things we think are coming up.
Yeah.
Keep listening to us. We're going to just keep it a mystery and tell you that we will catch you next week on the podcast.
Yeah. Bye, peeps.
Bye, peeps.